Hello, this is part two of Tactical Emergency Medicine Care Under Fire. This is the practical portion of it. My name is Charles Hwang. I'm an emergency physician at the University of Florida, and I've been tasked to give this talk on behalf of MedGlobal. So the first thing I want to talk about is wound packing. In the previous talk, I described wound packing and how it's important to provide constant direct pressure to the wound to stop bleeding. I think this video does a really good job of demonstrating what that looks like in real life. Notice how throughout this video, he has constant direct pressure either with one hand or the other hand. It's always one hand on top of the other hand in order to provide direct pressure to prevent the wound from bleeding.
On that wound, open up your combat gauze, make a small ball, open one in place, the finger and total pressure against the bleed until you've packed that entire cavity.
Notice how he's not just shoving the gauze into the hole and just filling the hole up with gauze. It's not the hemostatic agent that stops the bleeding. It's the actual constant direct pressure, right? Think about when you have a nosebleed. It's not just squeezing the nostrils once in a while. It's constant direct pressure. Same thing here. You have constant direct pressure of the bleeding wound and the bleeding artery to be able to occlude that artery and achieve hemostasis.
While you're packing, ensuring that blood isn't seeping through or around the combat gauze as you're packing. Continue to pack, maintaining pressure the entire. Pressure for 3 minutes.
Notice how he provides constant direct pressure. That's the most important part. Constant direct pressure of the wound. All right. Next part is talking about junctional hemorrhage, right? So we'll talk about tourniquets on the next slide, but junctional hemorrhage is complicated. If you have bleeding in your axilla or your groin, it's really hard to put a tourniquet in those areas because there's nothing to compress that femoral artery or the axillary artery against. So it's really important to know how to control hemorrhage at the junctions. So one of the things that you can do, it actually has multiple benefits, is putting your knee, or even better, putting your elbow in the axilla or the groin. This does one of many things. Number one, it allows you to stop bleeding, but also have an extra set of hands, right? So here, this provider has his elbow on the groin. It's stopping the bleeding, but he has an extra set of hands to be able to apply the tourniquet. Number two, it provides a low profile, so you are not exposed to, you're minimizing your exposure to additional threats. And number three, you can return fire in this position while you're stopping the bleeding. And number four, you are actually able to put a tourniquet on and stop any kind of junctional bleeding that might be happening in the axilla or the groin. So notice how the provider has the elbow in the groin and it's actually stopping the hemorrhage, and then has an extra set of hands to be able to put the tourniquet on while maintaining a low profile, while being able to return fire as needed. This video is on the cat tourniquet. I think this is really important. I think that having a cat tourniquet pre-set up to be able to be rapidly deployed is very important. And the second half of this video actually demonstrates that, how to pre-set up your cat tourniquet to be able to have rapid deployment, but also how do you use a tourniquet appropriately.
for the unexpected. Results expose the skin where the wound is located.
This is actually not an optimal way to place the tourniquet. If you think about the scenario and the situation that you're going to be deploying a tourniquet, typically these are high stress environments, right? You don't have the dexterity to be able to slide that strap into the buckle. That's number one. Number two, if you're shaking, again, you don't have the dexterity. But number two, you're wasting precious time by slowly putting the strap into the buckle. It's good to have that preloaded and to slide it onto the extremity. It's much faster and much better, and you can stop hemorrhage that way, and you're not going to expose yourself to danger for a longer period of time.
2 to 3 inches above the bleeding site, apply directly to the skin. Pass the red tip through the slit of the buckle.
That part's really important, right? You want the strap to be pulled tight, because the windlass only has a certain amount of movement. You can only turn the windlass a certain amount before you don't have anywhere additional turning to go.
If the tips of 3 fingers slide under the band, retighten and re-secure. Twist the rod until the bleeding is stopped. Secure the rod inside the lip. Consider additional tightening or applying a second cap. Reassess. Secure rod and band with time strap.
Remember, you're in a situation where there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of volatility. Patients are moving, patients are being slid on the ground. It's wet, there's blood, it's grimy. These things can slide, right? And so a constant reassessment, constant reevaluation, always having situational awareness, just like we talked about in the other lecture. Things evolve, things change. So reassessing and seeing if the tourniquet is effective, and if it's not, readjusting or adding another tourniquet on to make it effective.
Clips. The band should be tight enough that the tips of 3 fingers cannot slide between the band and the lip. If the tips of 3 fingers slide over the band, retighten and re-secure. Twist the rod until bleeding has stopped. Secure the rod inside the lip to lock it in place. Check for bleeding and distal pus. If bleeding is not controlled by distal pus is present, consider additional tightening or applying a second cap to the upper and side by side to the first. Secure rod and band with time strap. If able, record time of application on the time strap with the permanent marker included. Take the band out of the buckle. Ensure the rod is not secure, and all turns of the rod are Jump the guards twice. For example, like an archer to street death. Actions of path to itself. Secure the rod inside a clip to lock it in place. The cap is now ready to. These are some important points to remember. Never place a tourniquet over a joint, such as the knee or elbow. The tourniquet won't be found over clothing. If the bleeding is not readily apparent, place the tourniquet high and tight, as proximal as possible on the injured leg. Never use the tourniquet over your clothing. For larger limbed persons, 2 tourniquets right side by side with the rods not enough to jump. Plus, that the tips of 3 fingers cannot slide under the band. Always call 911 for emergencies.
So in that pre-launch configuration, what that allows you to do is open it up and you're ready to go. So what you can do is when you're actually deploying it, when you open it up, you can slide it over the person's limb, open the strap, cinch it all the way down, tighten the strap, put the strap down, and tighten the windlass, instead of sliding the loop through the buckle, which takes time and dexterity, which you don't have in these situations.